on that, I was just curious. Obviously, there's a lot of scheduling tools out there where if you want, you can have a set day where it's like, this is when I'm going to be planning my social media. Like, for you all, like, is that something you rely on heavily, or are you a bit more ad hoc, or do you kind of do a mixture of the two depending on what it is?
It's a good question. I mean, me personally, I don't, because I don't work in music full time, so I don't have the added pressure of having to sell a record or this, that, and the other. So for my mental health, I do it when I'm inspired to do it, when I feel like, cool, that's a post I want to do. Whereas if I don't do posts like that, then I'm just like, what am I doing? However, with these guys that work in full time, what would you say your method is?
Yeah, I'm more interested in my music than I am my social media, if I'm being honest.
That's the right thing.
Like, I'm on social media, and I'm fairly active on social media, but I don't wake up and go, like, oh my God, I haven't posted in 3 days.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's kind of relating to this whole talk today. It's like, it can be a big trap for a lot of artists that are way too focused on the metrics of social media and, you know, their dashboards and how many people like this and how many people did that. And actually, like, you wouldn't have a social media page if you weren't writing music. So maybe just write some music, because it's probably going to do your health a bit better.
Well, it's balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like if that's important to that person to have the social media following and that kind of thing, then that is actually really valid. But if it's overriding the creativity and becoming mechanical,
or going back
maybe,
to what you, like Adam said as well, and you said with being authentic, it's then, is the content you're posting on social media an authentic representation of you?
Yeah.
Or are you trying to follow a trend on TikTok or this? And then it's like, it all has a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
I guess like anything that's like forced is like, it's got a contrived edge to it. Right. So people sniff that out, you know, it's like, you know, big artists have kind of based their careers around kind of copying stuff. And, you know, you go around and you can hear that kind of all the time in the music industry. But, you know, when you listen to it, it might even be like good music, but there's still a contrived edge to it. And like, that's not really creativity. So that's not going to be a rewarding thing. So yeah, if you spend too much time trying to force stuff on social media, again, it's not really going to be rewarding.
I'm in a WhatsApp group called Artists versus the Algorithm.
Nice.
And it is literally just like...
I can well imagine what that's
and
like.
we have some really interesting discussions with it, and sometimes big artists or fairly well-established artists that are in there, and they have huge social media platform engagement, like however many thousands and thousands of followers. You chat to them like, so do you enjoy doing this content? And most of the time like, nah, just do it because of that.
I have to.
Because it gets me seen. And it's the whole knock-on effect, I think. Of
and
like,
it's because it's their job, I suppose. And then I suppose, Alex, because you run labels, scheduling posts are quite important, right?
Yeah, I think because I run like various labels and they have content that needs to be put out. So I kind of, my social media is based around when there's something to do that needs to be put out, and kind of when there's a release, you know, posting things about it, literally the tracks and an event, and it becomes easier to do that. But my own personal social media, I try and like keep a distance from it until there's something I need to do. Like I've set a limit on my phone for social media. I think probably 90% of the days where I'm like, oh, that was a difficult day, it was basically because of social media, because you get so drawn in, and it's just, you know, even if you hone in your algorithm, so you're seeing stuff that's good for you, it's still just like
chaos.
Yeah, chaos. This music, this event, you're like, oh, the lineup that we were supposed to be on is not there. Okay, that's happened. Like, okay, this release that's, you know, okay, that's there, but this is just like, it's like completely out of your control. I just find I run a few labels, we have something to post, I post that, and I try not to think too much about what it is I'm saying, because like you're saying, then it's more natural. The more you're kind of sitting there being like, oh, how do I do this? How do I hit this and this and this? It's just like, people notice it. Like, I think nowadays, someone was telling me yesterday, a distributor, that like, basically TikTok and Instagram and all this kind of thing, people know as soon as they're being sold to, or as soon as there's something which isn't being delivered kind of naturally. And so essentially there's almost no point worrying about how it comes across. As long as you're being authentic to yourself and you're getting across what you're trying to, then that's all that matters.
Very true.
Yeah, it's very true.
I think social media as well is just like a total hotbed for comparisons.
Yeah,
You go on there, have a
Definitely.
scroll, and like, within like seconds, you'll be like, oh, that person's doing that, and oh, I'm not doing that yet, or like, and comparisons.
I think we can have a whole day's talk on
Yeah,
social media and music, because
definitely.
it's like,
well, it's addictive, isn't it?
But also, it's so different from when I got into music and you got into music, and probably everyone got into music here. There wasn't social media. There was like CD mixtapes as a DJ, or sending demos to people, literally.
And conversation with people. I think maybe that's an important aspect to bring in, is like, if you are trying to network and get more music out there, or get to DJ, go to the nights and chat to people, because that is one of the strongest kind of connections that you can build, because social media has become so saturated and so normal.
But be sober.
But try and be like relatively on, some kind of balanced state of mind where you will come across how you want to come across, you know?
Well, I think it's interesting to note that obviously these pressures exist because it is part of the scene today and stuff, and obviously the reason artists are doing this is because they're trying to stay relevant and current, and I guess that's the whole thing, is how can you stay relevant and on the forefront of the different technologies available to promote to people, but also kind of stay authentic to yourself and
protect your mental health. That's the biggest thing.
Protect your mental health. Yeah. It's not too much to ask for, is
it?
No. I want to be a star. I want to be really mentally well. And all the other things.
Yeah. Exactly.
Easy.
Really being authentic to yourself in music, drum and bass, there's a level obviously of creativity, whether you're an artist who has to create every day, or someone as myself who's kind of managing different things. There's still an industry which needs you to be creative and needs you to enjoy what you're doing. So I suppose, like we've said, being aware of some of the dangers to creativity, like comparison and imposter syndrome, kind of I suppose the two different sides of it, where, as we were saying already, in comparison on social media, this person has done this person has done this, why am I not doing this? I think it's important to kind of realise that everyone's path through this is going to be different, and just because someone's here when you're here doesn't mean that that's exactly how it's going to be, or it doesn't mean to say that everything won't change, because it will along the way.
It also doesn't mean to say that this person is really enjoying their success. So I think that idea of living more in the moment with your creativity is quite important, because anybody can put anything on social media and you think, wow, they're really enjoying their lives, they're doing some amazing things, but behind the scenes they're struggling, and they're like, this is awful, why, like, I'm not fulfilling all these things, even though in your mind's eye they are. That might not be the case. So I think it's important to humanise people a little bit,